Hello and welcome you crazy people to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a fallen dead tree suitable for Endor, obviously for Star Wars Legion. I guess it would work for other games and that kind of thing. However, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to achieve the same thing. I guess it all depends on what materials you have, or because using something you already have is cheaper than going buying something you don't have. So the first way I'm going to be showing you is this, which is using just toilet paper, the tube, and toilet paper, and some hot glue. Pretty much need a hot glue for that method. The next method will be again a toilet roll, but this one is mainly using DAS clay to pretty much model it. Any air drying clay would suffice. I do use a hot glue gun just to glue the tube down, but you could actually just use super glue. And finally is a method I got from a guy called Garrison, who I'm fairly sure has finished YouTube, but I'll try and put a link to his video. It's quite an old video, like 5 years ago, so the image quality is not the greatest. That's understandable, but I just want to give credit where it's due. This is basically using tinfoil covered in cork, silicon cork, which is quite malleable and stuff like that. There's a bit of a terrible paint job on the rocks, but yep. That's just a third method. So they're very easy to do, so I figured I'll show you all in like one video, and yeah, we'll get on with method number 1, I guess. The base that I use for all of these is a expanded PVC. It's basically a soft plastic, but you could use cardboard or anything else that you like. So yeah, method number 1, what you're going to do is you're going to take your initial like cardboard toilet tube, and you just want to cut it in sort of like a V, just so it tapers, like it gets thinner at the one end and it's thicker at the base, if that makes sense. You can just eyeball it, scrunch it up in like a cylinder kind of thing, and I used hot glue to glue it on. You could use super glue or PVA if you want to weigh it, that kind of thing. What I also did was get a smaller one and just like glued it as like a branch that was coming off. You don't have to do that, but I do think it adds a nice little look to it. Then once you've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to get some PVA glue, cover the whole thing in PVA glue pretty much, and then put like a toilet tissue. Is like actual plain tissues is probably the thickest and the best, but you can use toilet roll, and I actually use kitchen towel. And yeah, once you've put it over it, I just got a bit of water with a bit of PVA and a bit of glue in it. Bit of PVA and a bit of glue, I got a spray with a bit of PVA in it and a bit of water in it, so like a 50-50 mix, and just sprayed it over, and then wet my brush and just sort of brushed it in. Then once I'd finished, I pretty much added some more PVA, and I just moved it with my hand, made it sort of look like it had, like, I want to say veins, but you know what I mean, like little ripples in it, kind of thing. I'm not too worried about the edges, because the edges, what we'll do is I'll put either sand over it so you won't see them anyway, but you can just push them in. I did like 3 layers. Try not to let it tear, so you have no like really unnatural areas. Hopefully you can see what I mean. Once that's dried, and it probably might take 24 hours to dry because, we walloped it in water, just get your hot glue gun and just sort of run lines up and down it in a sort of sporadic pattern. That'll pretty much create your bark texture, and that's pretty much that done. Bit hard to see on camera because it's all like white on white and hot glue, which is clear, but you'll see when we paint what that one looks like. Moving on to the next method, which is using the DAS clay. I don't really like this one because I messed it up. It is, however, a very easy technique, and if you're a better modeler than I am, then it'll probably look good. Same thing with the tube. I just got a tube, made it taper at one end so it was thinner at the top and thicker at the bottom. I hot glued it onto the base. Again, you could use super glue if you don't have a hot glue gun. And then what you're going to do, you get your DAS clay or your air drying clay. DAS is quite cheap, a hot glue gun's quite cheap, so none of this is really very expensive, but I thought I'd give you 3 different ways just so you could pick your cheapest. And then just like, you want a big flat pancake, I guess, just roll it out so it's quite thin, and just drape it over your toilet roll tissue holder center thing, your cardboard tube, and then I just tear off the sides, so obviously like there's no need to have it just hanging on the base kind of thing, and you want it to sort of push it under so it looks a little bit like a cylindrical shape. you could just, you know, what's the word? Just like mess it about with your fingers so it looks like it's got ridges in and it's not just a flat, perfect cylinder. I actually sort of do some roots on this one. I put a bit of PVA glue on it because DAS, I don't know if it's just my DAS, but I find it a little bit, sometimes it just doesn't stick. And what you do, they're little cylindrical tubes, all just, you know, around like at the base, like the roots coming out off it. You could do that with toilet roll and little bits of tissue, but for my mind, that's probably a little bit too much hassle and I couldn't be bothered. Once you're pretty much happy with the shape of it and the feel of it and the look of it, what we're going to do is we're going to get like a toothpick or a cocktail stick and we're just going to drag lines down it. So again, here we're trying to create like the bark texture. You could get a wire brush and do it like that, but I feel like that one might mess up like your wire brush. It's just quite easy to do with a cocktail stick, just drag lines down it. Do that on the roots if you want to do that on the roots. And yeah, you pretty much got your texture there, and I think it looks pretty decent. This one was a little bit too stumpy for my liking. I think it was because I cut the base a little bit too short and I didn't want to do it too long. But that's pretty much done. So moving on to the third method, which is the tinfoil method. What we're going to do is just take a bunch of tinfoil, scrunch it up into like a cylinder, you know, measure it out so it fits your base. And then what I do is I cut out a little slit. So in the first one, I just got a different tube and sort of like added it to the side. In this one, I sort of make it a part of the tree so it looks a little bit more natural. So just be careful when you're gluing the tinfoil to the base before you put your cork over it. If you use hot glue, it transfers heat very well, so it will get hot. Super glue is probably easier and recommended, but I used a hot glue gun because I'm stupid. But, you know, don't make my mistakes. And yeah, what we're going to do, we're just absolutely going to cover it in cork, which is CAULK, I think, with a glue gun, cork gun, sorry. And yeah, it's not that expensive, like if you get it from like a cheap pound store or dollar store, what have you. But if you buy it professionally, probably it's a bit more expensive. Then once we're just going to cover the whole thing in it. I use these not cocktail sticks. I use these like lollipops just to sort of like smooth it all out, like butter it all over it kind of thing. If you want to use your finger, it will get a bit messy, but make sure you wet your finger. But again, once it's all covered in it, we're going to take the cocktail stick and we're going to drag it up and down to try and create some like bark texture again. I find this stuff a little bit hard to work with, but I do like the results. If you want to create like a little knot in the wood, just get a little bit of extra cork on your stick or what have you, put it in the place you want it, and then sort of do like a circular motion just to have like a bit of a hole. But yeah, I think overall it looks pretty good, pretty easy technique, and it's quite malleable, or like it can take quite a lot of punishment because it's like tinfoil which isn't solid and the cork which isn't solid. So that's pretty much all three of the methods. Once you've like based them up, I based some of mine with my own little sterling mud texture, which Luke APS does a great video on if you want to check that out. For the other two, I just use sand and PVA because I found it a bit easier. And yeah, once you've done that, I painted it all brown. I did do the tree like a bit of a grey brown because in reality trees are sort of grey brown rather than brown, but you know, it won't matter too much. Burnt umber is the colour I used, and I think raw umber for the tree. And then you just dry brush it up with lighter browns for the base and lighter browny greys for the tree. For the rocks, obviously, it's just lighter greys. So for the trees, I say lighter grey. What it is basically a lighter grey and a lighter brown just mixed together, just to sort of differentiate it from the base. But once that's all dry brushed up, you're ready to add your flock, and yeah, pretty much that's it. It's done and dusted. That's 3 simple ways of making like a fallen tree for your wargaming table. So I hope that was like fairly simple to understand. It might seem like a short video for each different section because it's actually quite easy to do. And I'm not doing a video on like how to base your stuff. So like putting the not static grass on, putting the flock on and that kind of thing. It's fairly easy. This is woodland scenic blended turf, basically with a bit of weeds thrown in, sealed with watered down PVA. But this is the one which is basically hot glue and just toilet tissue. I will put a picture on it. Now the problem I have with this, and you won't really be able to see on this camera because there's no way on earth it's going to focus, that's fine. I'll try and put a picture on. There's a little bit of texture to the tissue which sort of gives it unnatural lines. Ideally I would have just used like a plain like proper tissue because you can get them plain. But other than that, I think like for really it's literally hot glue and cardboard tube. My base is PVC, as I said, and yeah, pretty simple, pretty cheap. Looks good. I actually really like the way that one looks. It's very light as well, but at the bases here, I just sort of shove some tissue in, if that makes sense, because you're not really going to see it too much, so it's not really a problem. But that's the tissue one. Moving on to the Das clay one. I like the Das clay texture of the tree. What I don't like is the sort of shape of it. It's too fat and the base itself is too narrow, and I didn't even use the whole of the base because I needed room for my roots, that kind of thing. So this is a decent method, made a little bit crapper by me. I think I should have had a longer base, made it more like a longer tree. So but pretty easy method. It's just a cardboard tube, Das over the top, cocktail stick, scraping your texture, and you're pretty much done. Very simple, and Das is quite cheap. So the last one, which was the Cork method from Garrison, I really like this method. It looked really nice. However, there's a couple of problems with it. Cork is very like sticky. It's very hard to like get off your hands and that kind of thing, and it had a few unnatural peaks in it, so a little bit problematic, but not too bad. And the one problem I had is I made it really thin, which if I had like a miniature, I only have a Space Marine here, but you can imagine it wouldn't really be like, it's barely over his legs. Do you know what I mean? So not a great like actual obstacle. That's why I put like this massive rock in, which I then didn't paint very well, because on this rock especially, you won't be able to see it here, but I used very thick paint because I was being lazy, and you can actually see the streaks in the paint. So pretty terrible job there, but the rock itself provides a bit of cover. I might do a different one of these with just a bit, a thicker branch, because the rest I'm pretty happy with the size. They'll provide cover, easily, but this one just a bit too thin. But yeah, really natural-ish looking effect, I think, with the fact that it's sort of like splits instead of being an add-on. I think that looks really nice. You could probably achieve something with the paper towel or the Das if you wanted, but I just didn't. So yeah, 3 different ways of achieving very similar-ish results. It's up to you which one you prefer. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. That is for like an Endor board. You could possibly do something like, this tree here with the cork could be all right on a desert board, because this is sort of like a dead tree. So, but mainly it's for like a Endor grassy fieldy kind of board. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that video. It's a bit weird to do 3 in 1, but hopefully it didn't feel too rushed. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Like, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, there'll be a Patreon thing, or just like and subscribe. It's fine. Every little helps though. Got two Patreons now, so thank you very much. And yeah, have a beautiful day and goodbye. Bye guys.